Good morning, race fans, and welcome to Today at the Races at Laurel Park on this Stronach 5 Friday. Tim Tulloch alongside Callie Francois. Big day of racing today. We had some weather come in last night. Track's going to start off sloppy.
Yeah, it will. It'll start off sloppy, but hopefully it'll dry up a little bit, get that track maybe a little bit drier as we continue on throughout the day. But again, as we start off, it was quite wet out there.
It was. I was just on it just about 45 minutes ago. Still pretty wet. I don't know how much drying we're going to get with the overcast. I don't know how much sunshine we're expected to get. We're going to look at that in a moment. As I mentioned, it is Stronach 5 Friday, so let's just take a quick look at the menu board for this week's Stronach of 5. It starts right here at Laurel Park, Leg A, our race 8. About 5 minutes to 4, 3:55, 3:54, right around there for Leg A. Then we go to Gulfstream Park for Leg B, their race 8. Santa Anita Park, Leg C, their race 3. Leg D is Golden Gate Fields, their race 3. And we finish it up back at Gulfstream Park, Leg E, their race 10. I'll have a ticket for the Stronach 5 a little bit later on in the show. Well, let's take a quick look outside, and the conditions are, well, they're not great. Let's just put it that way. About 37 degrees. I mean, it's not terribly cold, but it's going to be overcast most of the day, and you see the racetrack will be sloppy, and probably sloppy all day long.
Probably, and there is a little bit of, just a tiny bit of wind going on outside, so tough competitors that we have out there today in our jockeys, trainers, and grooms and extra staff today.
And I did a little bit of handicapping when the weather changed. I changed a couple of my picks, horses that I liked a little bit better over racetracks with moisture. You may want to do the same. Take a second look, but we'll talk about that as we move through today's card. Well, let's get started. Race 1 kicks off the early pick 5, as always, mandatory payout, 50-cent minimum, and a 12% industry low takeout on the early pick 5. Races 1 through 5, always well played here at Laurel Park. Race 1 is for maiden 4 and 5-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. The maiden claiming price is $25,000. We're going to start with our top pick in this heat, and that is the 6 Image Maker for Ricky Silliman. Javion Toledo gets the call. Second in his most recent race with a lifetime best. 2 back was a nice race over the mud.
Yep, and that's it. And as you so highlighted earlier, going to be making some of these selections on and off going, and that's just it. That's the kicker right there. That over that mile distance on that muddy surface, I think this horse will be fine with the 2 turns, just like last time. So combine all that together, has a very, very good chance of coming up on top in this race.
Yeah, a good fig in that last race, 58. That's good in here, real good in here. Looks like he can get the job done with a work sense. The 3 is Contented Now for Kieran McGee. Carlos Lopez gets the call. Decent on the turf, coming off a layoff. We haven't seen this one since last August. Getting on the main track for the first time. But hooks and off track, I don't think that should be terribly bad for him.
No, I mean the last time he was on a good turf, I feel like that was a bit of a situation where the horse got a little bit wrapped up on, went super wide either way, just wasn't. So that's really not much to go off, but as I agree with you, I think the good goings on the turf are going to reflect this track surface today. Kieran McGee, as of late, whenever he goes from turf to dirt, he's hitting at about 25% right now. Combine that with his 20% first after the layoff, should stack this horse up nicely to put in a good performance today.
Working pretty well up there at Pimlico. If he can convert a couple of his turf numbers to this off track this afternoon, he's by Magliadoro out of Mr. Greeley Mare. That's close enough for me. This horse could be a bit of a contender this afternoon in the opener. Pretty similar for Callie and I in race 1. Let's move to race 2. Race 2 kicks off the early pick 4, and our friend Keith Fusel, who's taking the day off, still sent us in a ticket. He just can't help himself, but we appreciate it. And this is how he plays it. A $36 ticket. And no singles as you see, but he goes 3 deep here in a race 2 using the 1, the 4, and the 6 in race 5. In race 3, he uses the 1, 4, and the 6. I know he likes a patient game for Mikey Dralis this afternoon. In race 4, he spreads here. Why not? This race is wide open. 1, 4, 6, and 7. And in race 5, he uses the 1 and the 5, a $36 ticket on the early pick 4. Race 2 is for fillies and mares who have not won a race in 6 months or never won 4 races. Claiming price $5,000, going the 1-turn mile. And we're going to start with your top pick in here, Callie. This is the 1, Golden Grant. Anthony Ferrier or Arnoldo Boca Chica gets the call. They had a winner in the yesterday afternoon with Illustrious in the finale. They'll be teaming up again this afternoon. This is a winner of 2 straight before a break and while still in the Farrier barn.
Yep.
He left the Farrier barn, came off the layoff, didn't run very well against much tougher, but he's getting back to the nickel level, which should be enough this afternoon.
And I think that's the key thing right there, and which is why Anthony Ferrier and his team win so many races, because you put these horses where they need to be in order to win, and that's exactly the case here. We're going back to that claiming 10 now where's a 2. You're essentially cutting that down in half a little bit, and I think that's really all you need to go on that. I mean, the Charlestown move, that's a little bit above the cut of a lateral move, I would say. Going from the allowance down to the 5 here. But with those going off of those 2 back in the Farrier barn, I mean, it's very easy for me to see this horse on top.
Well, being at this level and back in Anthony's barn, Anthony clearly knew the horse pretty well. I have the 3, Miss Moreno, on top for Ferris Allen. This will be first off the claim for Ferris Allen. Winner of his most recent at this level. And in fact, the 2 times she has run at the nickel level, she's been a winner.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you bring her down that last time out of the non-wars of 3 and the Timonium, going all those many turns around the Timonium track. So, back again. I mean, just coming back for a repeat performance clearly is okay with multiple turns going around there. Ferris Allen, 16%, winning at 2 in a row.
And 2 starts back against much tougher 12.53 Lifetime. This is a filly who ran pretty well over the mud, going a mile and a 16th. She only got beat 2 lengths while running 3rd in that heat. So she clearly can get across winless over the mud, but at her level and ran decently enough to back. The 4 is Fudge Cake. Michael Jones, Wesley Ho gets the call. This one's been running decent figures out there at Charlestown, but she does have a Laurel form. She's a winner at Timonium for the maiden 5. She won here in the 2 Lifetime nickel, and then she won at Charlestown for the nickel. So this is her level for sure.
This is her level for sure. I think she's going to enjoy being back at Laurel again, Tim. She did well at Timonium, but that was just 1 turn going the half mile there. She had to go 2 turns around that Charlestown track. I think she's a big enough filly where she may not have just preferred that track. I think she's going to prefer it again much here. And again, she is a winner on the off-going. If you go back on the 23rd of September at this near this level on the off-going, she just completely relished it.
Yeah, well, she ran well 2 starts ago at Charlestown, and she didn't run bad in that first level allowance condition out there at Charlestown. I mean, look, she was almost 28-1, and she runs 3rd that day, gets beat 6 lengths. But this certainly is her level, race 2, to kick off the early pick 4. Race 3 starts the Rainbow Pick 6. We have a nice carryover in the Rainbow Pick 6 this afternoon, $14,326 from yesterday's card. Callie, you did a ticket. How'd you play it?
I played it with Man's a Flyer and Patient Game, who I also like as well in the 3rd race. In race number 4, I go with the 6 and the 7. Race 5, I tripled down with the 2, the 4, and the 6. Race number 6 is where I go wide. I think that could go a couple of different ways, so I go with the 1, the 3, the 6, and the 7. Race number 7, 3, 4, 5. And in our nightcap, I finish it up with going down to 2 with the 3 and the 4 for a total ticket of $57.60.
Rainbow Pick 6 gets kicked off right here in race 3. This is a maiden event for 4 and 5-year-olds, claiming price of $40,000. Some of these runners are in for the waiver because they're Maryland breds. Going 7/8 of a mile, and we're going to start with the 4. This is your top pick, or our top pick in this heat. He was not originally my top pick until the weather came in, and I re-handicapped this race, and I put Mailman's a Flyer on top, adding blinkers for the first time, and with this off track and the blinkers on, this could be just what he needs.
Well, I have this horse as my best bet of the day, Tim. So I have him for all of those reasons. Plus, on top, the last time we saw him on the mud was also at 7 furlongs, and that horse came in with a nice try, a nice little rally at the end, going stretching out a little bit. I think that will be appreciated again. And last time out, just watching the horse, just slightly was just the wheels were spinning a little bit, I felt like. So I just think the blinkers are necessary. If you look back at that February 21st work, I haven't, that to me, that's a little bit of an indication that the blinkers might have been on for that one.
Well, they're going to have an interesting decision because Mailman's and Flyers adding blinkers clearly likes the off-going, is cut out to like the off-going by McLean's Music out of a Silver Deputy Mare. But he has shown some speed. 2 starts ago or 3 starts ago, showed some speed in his second lifetime race. Now we're going 7/8 of a mile. There is some speed to the inside of him in Heaven's Got Fire. So they're going to have a choice to make, and depending on how sharp he is, at least that speed's to his inside. Let's take a look at the one, a patient game for Mikey Doralis. Bryson Butterfly gets the call. We're going to look at his last race. This was from January 28th. Where he got in a little bit of trouble coming out of there.
Yeah, it just got squeezed a little bit in between, shuffled around a little bit, just knocked a little bit of the stuffing out of him as he broke. And then as you can see right here, you're going to see in about 2 seconds, Angel Cruz last time out just had to hold this horse, not feet quite against the dashboard, but had the horse a little bit in check, and I think that might have discouraged him a little bit. So, but Bryson Butterfly is going to have some work to do getting out of the gate, coming out of the one post.
Well, he's gonna have to break cleanly. He didn't. That wasn't his fault in that last start, but he's probably looking for a nice clean trip. It's going to help him in his 2 lifetime starts. He had trouble in his first race. He had trouble from the gate in his last race. But look, his debut race, even though he had trouble, that was a big race. He fired a 66 speed figure at this $40,000 level. If he can get away well and get to where he was comfortable, he wasn't comfortable all the way back
he didn't
in
like
that last start. It could be good enough for Patient Game and Bryson Butterfly. Let's move to race 4. This kicks off the late pick 5. This is for 4-year-olds and up, which have never won 2 races, claiming price $10,000, going 3/4 of a mile. And we'll start with your top pick in here. This is the 6 Deshackled. Claudio Gonzalez, Malvalquio Enriquez gets the call. Look, probably getting a little relief in here, and it may be enough. He's had a work sense, but boy, I have him in my exacta, but here's a horse that's 0 for 13 here at Laurel Park. It really jumps off the page.
Well aware of that, Tim. But I think this is the lowest we've seen this horse go in quite a long time. I mean, this horse has been running for quite some time. You can only go off of really that last one on 19th of September. That was really the only one that I really liked. Saw a little bit of that back in January 28th of this year, but I think I'm trying to give this horse as best of a chance I can, and I think Claudio is too, with dropping him down to 10.
Well, certainly getting back down to this $10,000 level is going to be help. Look, I like him a little bit too. He's in my exacta, but he's also 0 for 4 on the off going, so he certainly has some dents in his fender there. But look, I went for a little bit of a longer shot here in race 4. I'm on the 1, Pepe and Haywood. Johan Rosado rides first time off the claim for Carlos Sepulveda. Stepping up from the 2 lifetime, 5,000. I get that. He's got decent form going back to this past November. He does okay on and off track, but he's been hanging around with some horses that have been running well. He runs behind One More Factor. In his last start, he would come back to win. He runs behind Pardsy and One More Factor 2 starts ago. They would both come back to win. So I think he's been running against some decently consistent horses. This could be a spot. Even though it's on the move up, it could be a spot that works for him. He only got beat 2 lengths at this same level over the mud, going 5.5 furlongs, 2 starts ago, a couple work sets.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back to the last time he won. It was at the maiden. It was at the maiden 10, but it was at the 10 level, this distance, going on the off going, and just went and gunned for it. And when you have that inside post, I feel like, and the way he's been he's still been able to keep that gate speed as of late, especially in that last race. So I feel like, Tim, if you build off of all of that, there's absolutely potential here, especially at a nice price of 4-1.
You'd like to have seen him run a little bit better over the slop in his most recent start. But at the end of the day, the figure's not great, but at the end of the day, he ran third and only got beat 5 lengths. The 7 is Triggs 2 for Anthony Aguirre Jr. Kevin Gomez returns once again. He rode him 2 starts back. Comes right back in. Just ran on the 18th of February. And we're going to take a look at that video as he comes out of the gate and he finds himself in a little bit of trouble out of there.
Yeah, he was a little unbalanced, a little unsquare as he was coming out of the gates when they opened. So there was a little bit of shuffling going on there. You can see Bryson Butterfly just kind of keeping him together, trying to keep him together, because the last time he won, he was on the lead. So again, this is a horse that will need a clean break, and he just didn't get that last time out. So when he does, maybe you could say he threw in the towel, but on screen it looks like he's just still trying. So he's just clearly just a one pace type of horse. The last time he won going to the lead was on the off going, so he has this outside post. I feel like there's a lot of advantages for him to take advantage of in this fourth race, excuse me.
Yeah, I think he'll be popping out of there, and Kevin Gomez will be sending Triggs 2 from the outside 3-1 on the morning line. We need to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk about the second half of our card.
I have 2 favorite parts. I have to say it's the people here that work here and the horses. Rehoming the horses and getting to see them in second careers and what they can go on to do after they've been race horses is, definitely one of my favorite parts of my job. And the other thing is the people that work here. I mean, they're here pretty much 7 days a week, very hard workers, and they all love horses as much as I do.
Welcome back to Today at the Races. Race 5 kicks off the late pick 4. This is for fillies and mares who started for 16 or less in their last 3 starts, or claiming price $25,000, going 1 mile. We're going to start with our top pick in this heat. This is the 6, Awfully Foxy. Damon Dildovico. Leonardo Carujo gets the call. Hey, look, this one's been in good form since her return back in September with a win in her last race and a lifetime best. She's maybe getting a little relief here this afternoon, maybe a lateral move, but certainly not any tougher than her last race, and she'll be stretching out for the first time.
Yeah, and speaking of stretching out, those last 2 performances at the 7 furlongs were positive enough for me to have some faith in her stretching out. The first one was the latest one was she was just coming in with a nice rally. It was nice enough, very, very willing. But the time prior to that was a win coming. And granted, that was breaking it for the 10 level. But to me, the distance is telling enough of that. She appreciates that. I just feel like she's always consistently asking for more in these shorter starts. And like you said, easy enough field, a little bit of an easy enough field last time out, a little bit of an easy enough field this time out. And I feel like she will really appreciate that, stretching out to the mile for the first time here.
No, she lays pretty close, not too far off while sprinting. I would expect her to be a little bit closer this afternoon. She's just going to have to stay the distance a little bit. Comes in with a work. The 2, Song of Honor, you use for Claudio Gonzalez. J.D. Acosta gets the call. Coming in here off a life best at a first level allowance condition at Charlestown. But the attraction here, and pretty good over her last 3 starts. The attraction here, though, I think she's 2 for 2 on the offgoing.
Yeah, especially that last time out at the claiming 16 level back in the end of October at Laurel. That was the flat mile that was on the offgoing, and she made a nice run of it coming from off of the pace. So, she's from her last run. This is a little bit of an uptick, a little bit, but I think she's going to be up to the challenge today, especially benefiting from the offgoing where 2 of her last 3 wins have been on.
The 5 is Tilsa. Ron Abrams trains. Sal Gonzalez gets the call. This one's coming, from Parks, basically via Gulfstream Park. We haven't seen her since December 22nd. We're going to look back at her race from September 20th. This is up at Philadelphia Park. where, wow, she gets the job done here, but she's pretty far back at this point.
Yeah, it gave the leader gave her some work to do and gave her a nice pace to run in. But as you can see, the leader is already just having enough of it and dying off. But she comes with a wonderful turn of foot, times it all very, very nicely, and has plenty for the tank where she just leaves him in the dust and still leaves going on it. Now, the biggest question is about this filly is that she hasn't really had much experience on the wet dirt. Do you think she's going to like it today, Tim?
She's cut out to like it. By Flatter out of an El Prado mare. She might even get a little bit better. Now, she had a string of 3 races last summer on the turf, actually on the main track at Colonial and at Parks. She was in very, very good form, a winner of 2 of those at a pretty similar level as today, and her lifetime best in September in that race that you just saw. But she should be able to handle the off-going. Only one published work since that race, December 22nd. That's on February 9th. It's hard to read much into that, except I can say she's coming into this race and she's coming in protected, so it doesn't look like they're trying to sell her. She will take a lot of money. There's no doubt these horses from Philadelphia always take a lot of money, and they take it early. So watch the board in race number 5. Race 6 is a maiden filly event. 3-year-old fillies going 1 mile, claiming price $25,000. And we're going to start with your top pick, Callie. That's the 7, Fashionista for Ferris Allen. Horacio Caramanos gets the call. She stretches off 2 consecutive good efforts against what should be tougher in the maiden 40.
Yeah, she will be a bit tougher. The breeding isn't really behind, but I can't help but feel like sometimes with some, I've just seen it with Ferris Allen with some of these types of moves when he does tend to stretch them out. I don't really have any stats to prove it, but I've just seen a couple of decent efforts where this filly may be asking for a little bit more. I feel like the light switch has gone on a little bit, especially in that last race. Now, she was a bit pressured up the front, and she's not really used to that, so she may have just gotten tired a little bit, as well as just, being the second best horse in that field. But hey, I just like what I saw visually in that race, and I think I'm excited to see what she's going to be offering us once she stretches it out.
7-2 on the line, laid close in her last race. Could be a pace factor from the outside this afternoon, going this 1 mile. I have the 1 Blue Indigo on top for Ben Perkins. Forest Boys gets the call. A little disappointing in her most recent start, going 5.5 furlongs on a fast main track, stretching out for the first time today. A couple good works since then. I don't love Moslers. I've made no bones about it. But I like them a little bit better when the racetrack has moisture in it. That's what this one's going to get today out of a Cat Thief mare. She should get better on this racetrack by rights this afternoon.
Absolutely. And on top of that, Benny Perkins, as of late, he has been 33% with his first-time routers. He usually does well with that. And on top of that, I think she's been asking for that. I think that last race was a great indicator of saying, hey, I don't have the call to go short. The wheels were spinning a little bit because she got up there prior, but I think she's a bit all over the board as far as where she is during her break. So saying that at the short distance, when you stretch it out, that gives her a lot of room to be able to be a lot more confident in taking your time and getting up there. So I think she's asking for the longer distance.
By the figures, she certainly moved forward since getting here at Laurel Park. The 5 is Daily Planet for Milan Milosevic. Charlie Marquez gets called once again. This one drops back down to the $25,000 level where she made her debut. Going a mile, she runs second. She only gets beat 3/4 of a length. They didn't run particularly fast that day, and she comes back. They step her up to the 40. Was it the mud, or was it because it was too tough? I'm going to lean on it was just too tough. But we get back to the 25 today. Look, she runs behind a next out winner in Just Happy. In her first start, she runs ahead of a next out winner in Middle Island, and Sea Pines would come back and win just the other day.
Editorial doesn't have a lot of samplings, but he is, his wet dirt runners have done well so far. So I'm going to agree with you, thinking that it was the tough situation. But I left her off of my ticket just because I did question a little bit of the off going, but then again, if she's back at that level, I want to wait and see it to believe it with Daily Planet.
She did take a lot more money in that last start, even though she was stepping up from the 25 to the 40. Race 7 is an allowance race, state bred allowance race, going a mile and 16th. 4 fillies and mares, and we're going to get started with your top pick, my top pick in this heat, the 3 Good Measure 4 Graham Motion. We're going to look at her race from January 16th here at Laurel Park. This was a good effort under Victor Carrasco, and you see we had a little snow in the ground, then comes with a pretty good run going the 1-turn mile.
Yeah, I mean, it just had to take a little bit. It had a little bit of the rail trip, which I think did help a little bit, but that rail was wide open, so Victor had all the time and the room in the world to be able to go on with it. So I'm not really counting that as a rail trip, being brave on the rail. I think she just kind of did her thing. But as we can see, she just is the type that does need as much distance as she can get. So with that being said, I think she had the 1-turn mile last time out. She gets the 2 turns today, but I just need to see. That was visually improvement enough, but I just want to see a little bit more. Curious if she ran on the snow, curious if she's going to like the harder sloppy surface here today.
Well, I'll tell you what, she was not my original top pick, but when we got the weather, I put her on top by Smarty Jones out of a Polish numbers mare. I think she'll appreciate the off-going. She ran a lifetime best race on a turf with moisture, 3 back. So I'm hoping that works for Good Measure this afternoon. The 4 is Mitt Mazel, and she was my original top pick, is your top pick here. I don't blame you. She's stretching back out. She seems to be a need the lead type of mare, but her 3 previous races, they tried sprinting her in her last, were good efforts. She's already a winner in the open first level allowance race.
Yeah, I mean, you know me, Tim. I'm usually one to turn away from the need the lead types, but she showed a little bit of guts. While the numbers didn't really reflect, she got a little gutsy, battling for it almost pretty much the entire way around, 2 back at Laurel on the 16th of January, going the 1-turn mile. I think that when I saw that, I was very, very encouraged by that. Now the question is she going to like a wet dirt? She's only tried it once, didn't hit the board, so I'm going to give her a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and maybe trying it again.
But she did run a big number that day, 74. The 5, Acadia Girl, coming off a big win, open 12.5, going a mile and a 16. She's 2 for 4 on the off-going. Before we get to race number 8, let's talk about the Stronach 5, because the Stronach 5 gets started with our race number 8 this afternoon. Then we go to Gulfstream Park for leg B, their race 8. Leg C, Santa Anita Park, their race 3. Race 3 at Golden Gate Fields for leg D, I know the alphabet. And leg E back down to Gulfstream Park for their race 10. I put together a ticket for the Stronach 5, $108 ticket, no singles this week, and I go 3 deep here in our event. I use the 2, the 4, and the 7, the 2 Bellify, 12-1 on the morning line, absolutely cut out, second-time starter, absolutely cut out to handle the off-going. In leg B, I go 3 deep down there at Gulfstream Park. I use the 3, the 6, and the 8. I really kind of like the 6 Lilac Girl, coming off a little bit of a layoff of 4 Jonathan Thomas. In leg C, out there at Santa Anita, I use 2 of them, the 1 and the 4. The 4 Warriors Moon for Peter Urton. Van Dyke gets the call this afternoon in that starter race out there on the grass. Leg D, back to Golden Gate Fields once again, and Golden Gate Fields is mostly my nemesis. I'm going to get it right, but I use the 2, the 3, and the 4. I quite like the 3 Del Mar Flash out there at Golden Gate Fields. And in leg E, I go 2 deep here using the 1 Aussie Pride for Bill Mott. And the 4 QF75 coming off a layoff. First time gelding off a layoff for Christophe Clement. Irad Ortiz gets the call. There you have the Stronach 5 and how I played it. Go ahead and mix and match, but definitely get involved because it always pays very, very well. Let's move on to race 8, which is leg A of the Stronach 5. This is a maiden event for maiden 3-year-old fillies, claiming price $10,000. We are going to start with the 4, Kobe's Girl, your top pick, Bryson Butterfly, Lacey Gaudette. Look, the 2 most recent races have been okay once you got down to these bottom maidens.
Yeah, and that's the key. Once we got down to the bottom maidens, and then also not a bad performance going 5.5 on the off going back on the 1st of January this year. So you take that, you stretch it out a little bit. I like this horse at 7 more than 5.5. Was entered at 7 back on the 20th of January. Was a trainer scratch, but then came back, ran 3/4 of a distance on the 6th of February, and that was a little bit of an upturn. That injected a little bit of faith in me. So I like the off-going fact. I like the longer distance for Kobe's Girl today.
I do have the 7 Hylico Rising on top for Claudio Gonzalez. Angel Cruz rides. This one comes right back. We just saw her on February 18th. She's getting class relief, 2 back, going 5.5 furlongs. Good enough race, good enough number to win this afternoon, getting off track for the first time. However, I really have interest in the 2. I want to talk about the 2 a little bit. Bella 5 for Courtney Young for his boys gets the call. Look, in debut for the maiden 16, gets a little relief today in the maiden 10. She took some attention, 4.5 to 1 in a debut, so she was she was bet a little bit, but boy, she's by Unified, who's by Candy Ride out of a Malibu Moon mare. She may absolutely relish the going this afternoon, so I have interest in
Yeah,
her.
absolutely. That wet dirt is absolutely a great tick to pay attention to. And Unified, 19% with his second-time starters. That's a great,
There you go.
So we've got a rail trip, first-time starter at a rail trip, getting all that dirt. Let's just call that a really good educational experience.
Well, I hope she learned a lot in that debut race. That's going to do it for Callie and myself. Dave Rodman is up next with Scratches and Changes.